Well, Matt, you talked about Tuesday's game in isolation after the game and the result. Have you had much time to reflect on that one, or did your mind go straight into Saturday's game?
As much as it always does anyway, but yes, most definitely reflecting on that game with the there was a different group that played that naturally brought out some relationships that hadn't quite been built as yet. There were some really good bits of play and some not so good bits of play, which you're going to get when you throw a team together in a way that they hadn't played together and all of that. Against a team that they're unique in the way that they play, and I think they do it from top to bottom. And there's some guys that have been in that team that had been involved in their first team, and so there's some good players. So there was definitely there was challenges to that game that we won't see again this season, but there were also some crossovers that we will see, and it's important that we looked at that and we spoke about it together. It's important that that the players had their view on that as well, which they always will. You know, we iron out things that we feel are crossovers together.
There were a couple of players in there who obviously got minutes. We spoke about it after the game, the likes of Douglas, James Taylor. Performances like that from those, they then give you the right kind of headaches going into games at the weekend?
Oh, it's what I want. I'm desperate for it. I'm desperate for, I'm absolutely desperate for that competition. There's, it's a dangerous place to be when you've got an 11 that's the 11 that starts every game, because that's a dangerous place to be. I've got a squad, and there's a squad that I'm going to use, and some people will start some games and some people won't, and then there'll be that'll be a constant thing throughout the season. So I thought there were some really good performances on Tuesday night. There's some areas to tighten up on, undoubtedly, as we spoke about in some of the league games that we've had. The important thing for me and for us as the group is that we're all learning together. We're all desperate to improve together, and we're desperate to see games out.
Going into the game at the weekend, talk about your relationship with Paul to start with before we get on to what you're expecting from them. You know, this will be one that, you know, whilst you want to get probably one up on him, it's one that somebody you can learn from as well.
Well, I want to win the game. I don't want to get one up on Paul in that sense. He's a person who I've got a huge amount of respect for. He's a fantastic person. He's a fantastic coach, hugely experienced. But he's also he's a good bloke, and somebody who I've got the utmost respect for. And that the same with his assistant manager, Chris Doig, exactly the same. People I know really, really well, and I've got this huge, I've said it a couple of times, huge respect for and huge time for. And we will continue to have a really good relationship with whatever happens on Saturday. Naturally, I'm desperate to win the game on Saturday, as they are. And it'll be up to me to pick the team that I think gives us the best opportunity to do that, and it'll be up to me to manage through the different bits and pieces during the game which will affect that result. So great to see them, look forward to seeing them because they're good people, but I'm desperate to win the game, of course I am.
Naturally, I imagine the conversations with those over the past couple of weeks have probably not been as frequent as they have been previously.
You'd say, I think we're both on radio silence, all of us at the minute, for natural reasons. So, but they've, talk about them for a bit now. They had a positive result last week. They got some good players. They'll be well drilled, and they're put out by a really experienced manager who knows what it takes to get results in the division. So they'll be a tough team to play against, and they'll be a good team, and they'll win lots of games this season. So yeah, another tough game, but I'm looking forward to the next home game. I'm looking forward to the next game, and we go into it, really high on confidence off the back of our performance against Crewe. I thought we were fantastic for large portions of that game, and it's up to me to make sure we're reminded of that.
Obviously, we'll go back to the last home league game, which was against Stockport. I thought it showed a real clinical edge, which we have done in the vast majority of games. We're scoring goals, but we were so solid in the way that we were set out in that game and making our home ground, a real fortress for teams to come to, and real fear coming to. That's a key point as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's down to us to do that. It's down to us through our performances, to unquestionably to get supporters off their feet, both ends of the pitch, whether that be a block tackle, whether that be a ball in the face that prevents something, or a good bit of play in the opposite end. We have to show both sides of us, and I thoroughly believe, and that Stockport game was a key to, a highlight to that, was that they'll go with us when we give them that and we show them that. I've got a group in there that are desperate, absolutely desperate to win games, to be together, to give supporters and ourselves good journeys home, good experiences at match days and stuff to shout about. Again, it's for me, it's to say, come with us for the ride, because there'll be some tough moments on Saturday. I'm sure about that, and there'll be moments when we'll be desperately needing them to be right behind us and driving us forward. And I urge just every one of them to be with us, because we're going to give it everything we've got.
On a final note from me, you speak about players, having relationships with supporters as well. Tom Knowles spoke to us after the game on Tuesday night and said he'd almost done a little bit of homework in himself in going into the away end and doing different aspects of things whilst he's been out injured. How key is it for you as a head coach to know that you've got players that are so invested in doing that side of it and knowing exactly what it means to the supporters?
Yeah, well, Tom, first and foremost, he's been with us for every away game, and obviously every game throughout his injury. So, it tells me what I've got in him. He's a fantastic person and someone who is desperate to, if he's not playing, do whatever he can to help the team, help the group. Whether that be, I don't know if helping was going in and being with the supporters, but he seemed to really enjoy that. So that was it was a good experience for him to maybe get close and up close with the supporters, and he enjoyed that experience. I think we've got a good group of people. That's the main thing. Good group of people that don't lose sight of what we're here for, and we're here to put smiles on people's faces, but do that together in a way that we want to play. And as I say, I go back to desperately wanting that kind of link between the fans and us and the group, and that to shine through with how we all feel on match days and how we all feel when we come to the ground. And the previous home game against Stockport, we were all there, we were all united with that. There's been some tricky moments in between, and there will be some tricky moments in the future. Stick with us, ride with us, because we've got players and people that are desperate to do well for the football club.